The internet, those of you that don't know, I know I wasn't there. I just turned 26 yesterday, so what do I know? No, I did not. But the internet, for those of you that don't know, didn't start in the 90s. It started in the late 60s. Something called DARPANET was created. DARPANET was mainly for military and education. It was built out in California. And the only reason I know this intimately is because I once spoke at a conference about 15 years ago and met Vint Cerf, who's widely known as one of the fathers of the internet. So I got to know him quite a bit. And when they originally built the internet, it was very simple. DARPANET was a very simple system. It worked in multiple areas. It wasn't worldwide, so to speak. So you fast forward to the mid-'80s. They start working on email. They start fundamentally make that work. They get into the early 90s. A young senator decides towards the end of the 80s, going into the 90s, that the internet should be commercialized. That young senator went out and worked his butt off to make sure the internet could become a commercial product. And by the way, his name was Al Gore. So those of you old enough to remember when people said, well, Al Gore built the internet, kind of, not technologically. But so the internet then, you go about 1991 to about 1999, into 2000, so a 10-year span roughly, it was sitting at roughly about 16 million users. Took that long to get there. ChatGPT, in its first 7 days of operation in November of 2022, got to 1 million users. By January of 2023, they were at 100 million. It's faster. It's bigger. Then other models came out, and it got more dynamic and more rapidly spread out across the world. It's the fastest technology ever made in history. It's blah, blah, blah. You've heard all this. So the question, though, is, the question I like to ask, in especially settings like this where I'm allowed to as a Christian, is what would Adam have done if ChatGPT had been there and he had said something like, hey, really quick, my wife's out of whack here. I don't know what's going on. She's talking to snakes. I think she ate mushrooms. I don't know what's going on. What's your advice? It might have been like, are you sure you want to do that? Because you were kind of told not to. All joking aside, we've entered into a realm where people are blurring the lines between what AI can do for them and what it should do for them. And so what's happened is, and by the way, we've been dealing with this for decades as far as like us getting lost in the societal change and the technology. We get so excited. And I was on a panel a few weeks ago with a bunch of tech CEOs, and I'm the low man out because I'm the human. They literally introduced me as the guy who represents humanity. I don't think that's my role. But we were sitting there, and they said to one of the CEOs on the panel, what do you think AI is going to do to jobs in the next 5 years? And he said, within 3 to 5 years, it'll take all the jobs. And I just because I'm very kinesthetic, I'm a physical person, I'm 6'5", I scoff a lot when I'm like frustrated, and I just go, like that. And they go, Mitch, would you want to say something? I go, that's the single most arrogant thing I've ever heard of. Like, you're going to tell 8.5 billion people that life's over in about 3 to 5 years? I don't think you understand how humans work, number one. I don't think you understand how people have, by the way, I'm doing everything I can to not start quoting scriptural texts, but I'm like, look, work, I know this, is a fundamental part of human existence. It's part of what defines us. Hard work is necessary to build our character. If you start taking that from people, not only will you not build their character, which is probably already fragile, you'll devastate human culture as we know it. People will become apathetic. They'll take it out on their spouse or their friends. The world will fall into further chaos. This is the most irresponsible thing I've ever heard somebody say. From a company that is making right now at their last valuation, I think they're sitting at about $120 billion. They have huge influence, huge money, huge access, and they're pumping a narrative like that. So I'm going to tell you a lot about what I do, and I'm going to tell you a lot about how I think we can use AI, regardless of where people believe or don't believe, in a way that will make a real impact in your life, as long as we keep it in the right frame and in the right context. I'm going to tell you a lot of things about it. We're going to dispel some myths. I'm going to talk through what it does and doesn't do. I'm gonna show you some things at the end that are kind of demo-oriented about how you can interact even better. Before I even get into that though, how many of you use AI? Let's just, hold on a second with the hand. You gotta let me cook up here. You're like, I want the appetizer. It's like all day, every day. Put your hand back up. All day, every day? Yeah, there you go, 1, 2. So put your hands up if you use it all day, every day. Just for a second. Look around the room for just a minute. This happens every time. It's about 5 to 6% of the room, okay? How many of you have used it before? Okay, good. A lot more people. How many people are terrified and don't want to use it? How many people have no idea what we're about to talk about? Because that's fundamentally critical. So that's a very common piece where you have 1, 2 to maybe 5% of the room who use it every day. You have other people who don't use it at all, or you have people that use it incorrectly. How many people use it like a Google search? Get me this, do that, find this, help me with that. Right. Terrible use case. We'll fix that later. Let's just go one step at a time. I'm going to explain to you how they work, what they do, and how it impacts us, especially as people of faith. It makes a huge difference in our lives if we're not letting them be used with consciousness. It can make a big difference. We have to be really focused on that. By the way, I should tell you before we get started, I have 4 kids. So I have a really deep interest in education. And Hive, which you'll hear all about throughout this, Hive, our company, we have Hive EDU. Every time we book something with a client, like the Colorado Rockies or the Red Sox or Visit Denver or any clients like that, a portion of the money we make, we put towards facilitation for free in educational areas like high schools and colleges, just to help students understand how important things like critical thinking and balance and ethics and psychology and philosophy are all critical before they start using these tools. So we're really dedicated to this. By the way, my kids, my oldest is about to turn 21 on Friday. He survived it. Thank you. I've got a 21, 19, 17, and almost 3-year-old. There's always that same, whatever. Judge me if you want. That's fine. Or just be freaked out about it. Either one. So let me tell you my background really quick. I started out in entertainment in Chicago back in the 90s. And I was at Second City, so I studied at Second City Improv. And then I built a comedy show in Chicago called Comedy You Can Dance To. Very fun, like an improv musical kind of fun show. I left after 5 years, went to Universal Studios. That show lasted 20 years at a nightclub. How many people have been to Chicago? Raise your hand. In the 90s. Date them? There you go. In the 90s, there was a club called Excalibur. It was a big giant castle, and that's where we did our show, if you remember the Chicago in the 90s. So that show lasted a long time. I went to Universal Studios and kept doing it. I then got recruited to go be a facilitator in large conferences. So I would go to big rooms like this and bigger, and we facilitate experiential learning. I moved through that company over the course of 15 years, became a designer of training and development, and really loved just being in front of people like yourself. Just being able to help people grow and emerge and learn and develop themselves was always really important to me. So it was a lot of fun. Then I took a diabolical turn. I got divorced, and if you don't know, if you haven't been divorced, divorce will make you forget why you were born. It'll turn you into a demon. It just changes your life. So I did what any divorced guy would do in his early 40s. I built a dating app, of course, in the cannabis industry of all things, called Hi There, Highthere. I learned a lot in that journey. I learned a lot about people. I learned a lot about technology. I learned a lot about algorithms. I learned that we all give ourselves over to technology in ways you don't even imagine. I also learned that anybody on the dating app, and I don't see any of you here, I learned that I could track you down to 6 inches of where you were standing at any given moment of the day, even if you weren't using the app. Your latitude and longitude were always pinging back to the servers, so I could track all of our people. Now, that may be insignificant if the app didn't do well, but within 11 months, we were at 300,000 users. It was massive. I also learned that human beings in today's culture, by the way, that was 10 years ago, we were commoditizing ourselves at a rate that was terrifying. I watched people trade each other up and down in the course of an hour. Now, I couldn't see who they were. They're all identified by numbers. But our dashboard would show one person having 15 simultaneous conversations that would reduce to 5. And then they would swipe in and add 40 more people. And they were just trading each other up and down. It was quite fascinating. By the way, I don't know if you know this, but traffic on a dating app after about midnight gets bonkers. Everyone's just swiping crazy. I don't know what people are doing. But when I sold that, I was glad to get out of it. I felt really bad about it. I didn't like what I had done. It was a brutal experience. I learned a lot. Learned a lot about people. I learned a lot about tech, like I said. Then next, I just kind of took a break. I got into a lot of consulting and just kind of breathed for a minute because I sold it. And so I could do that. And so then 2020, COVID hits, and I had built a small learning and development company, not a big deal. But after COVID, I said, hey, something's going to change in culture. We've lost our ability to communicate, to build community, to connect, to reflect, to have any kind of social structures. We've lost our ability to just be out in the world. I saw it with my kids. We all did. Right about that time, something interesting happened too. I bumped into a guy who worked at CCU, and I had never finished college, and I ran into him just in passing. And we start talking, and it turns out he's a guy who worked for CCU, and so that's what he did. So he's like, hey, you should go get your degree again. You should go finish it. So I went back to CCU and worked on psychology for the next 3 years and wrapped it up, which was really powerful. And what was so cool about that experience is during the same time, he then, of course, brings me to his church, and I got baptized in 2021 in April of that year, which was pretty cool. Yeah, well, anybody that's gone through that in this room knows that's also dual painful because you sort of face yourself, and you face your past, and you face the things you've done and been. So I had to go through that. By the way, if you judge me now, I've already been there, and so it's okay. I'm okay with it. But the point is to all of that story, when I built Hive, it was originally to help humans be better humans. We embedded in all of our learning programs very Christian-like values. Things like, how to forgive others and why that's important to your business culture, even though that's very faith-based. So we did that on purpose. And then what happened was in the spring of 2022, March, I got an email as a former CEO of a tech company that said, would you like to try this thing we have in testing called ChatGPT? I had no idea what it was. I accessed it, and I stopped the presses. I said, let me just explain to everybody on the team, the entire world is about to flip upside down. And that's because the first thing I did with it is I said, build me a training program that is so good for presentation skills that it might be better than anything I've done. And I didn't tell it anything else. And back then, it was not as good as it is today, and it still built it in about 45 seconds. Blew my mind. I could not believe what I'd seen. So we just went about mastering it. How far could we push it? What could we do with it? What was too much? What was ethical versus unethical? When was it hallucinating? When was it just making up facts and connections and links? And so we just pushed it for the better part of like 9 months. Every new model that came out, we practiced with it. Every new thing that happened, we wanted to see how far we could push it. We bought all the models, we pushed all the models. Then I got asked to speak at a conference about what we do. I explained AI and how we use it, found out we're very practical, and here we are today. So now we are going into companies all over the country, all over the world, and we basically enable people to use AI the right way, how to integrate it into their workflow. We're actually working with Visit Denver right now, which is here today. And we've been training their entire staff on how to use AI both ethically and effectively and practically every day. When I say practically, what I mean is if a tool is not useful, if I can't do something with it constructively, then it has no value to me in the long term. Would we agree? Yeah? No value. If I can't do anything with it, it's like, you've heard the saying, it's like, why are we creating solutions for problems that don't exist? So I always want to make sure that the tools are effective. So I'll give you a couple numbers that are important. We've done this now over the past 2 years to the tune of about 28,000 people, 84,000 training hours, with a productivity increase on average of 200% per person, depending on how well they adopt what we teach them. And they don't lose themselves in the mix because we always stress it's about humans in the middle. It's about humans using the tech, taking the AI output out, putting it back in. This is something we stress all the time. And And part of what resonates for me is that these things have got to be, we have to be as human beings more foundational. We have to be more connected to the foundations, which are going to give us the basis to even use this tech. Because when we don't, it gets real sloppy. And it's going to get weirder. I'm going to show you some weird things later with your permission, of course. Let's go ahead and go to, I want to take you through a question, and I want you to yell out the answer. Seems like a simple question. What makes us human? Just scream it out. Our soul, number one. Love it. Technology in the AI sense lacks two important things. I heard emotion over here. It lacks the soul and it lacks the emotion. And it can never have the emotion. Now, it can mimic with terrifying accuracy. It can tell you you're lovely, you're wonderful. Not that I do this, other people. It tells you you're wonderful, you're lovely, you're perfect, you're amazing, you're going to do great things, everyone should love you. It's very encouraging. And they're built to be that way. But it is not emotional, and it cannot do anything except mimic us. So it doesn't really understand emotion. And it doesn't have a soul, and it doesn't have intuition. What else makes us human? Yes, that's 100% true in this room with all of us. It's not in the image of anything but other humans. It's not in the image of God, 100%. And that's a fundamental difference. It will make mistakes and not care or know that it's done it until it's pointed out. Oh, never mind, I know a lot of humans like that too. So what else makes us human? Free will, the ability to make choice. AI will do your will. It'll do your bidding, which, by the way, terrifying to think about. A lot of humans running wild, having an AI bend to their will. If you really want to freak yourself out, which I don't advise you do, start researching how many people in China are currently in love with the AI chatbot that is in China, that is a relationship app, to the tune of about, I think it's up to about 780 million right now, or no, 780,000 right now, who report they're in love with it, fully in love with it, which tells you a lot about the missing pieces of a lot of people, right? So I worry about my kids, I worry about their future, I worry about all of us if they ever put it into a fully autonomous robot system that's also a beautiful man or woman. We're all in a lot of trouble. And they're working on that right now. So hopefully that doesn't happen. If it does, I'll go sabotage it for you. Don't worry, I got your back. Here's one thing we've learned after all those hours that I think you're going to find interesting and important. Beyond your faith, beyond what we do every day, you know, and I'm always concentrating on, am I using these things the right way? Am I doing the right things? Am I being transparent? Are we being ethical? Are we being clear-minded? But here's one thing I've learned that might or might not shock you, that after all those hours and all those people, the more experienced you are in life, in business, in whatever you do, in events, however you want to look at it, the more experienced you are, the better the output once you learn how to use AI. Once you learn the tool, everything improves exponentially based on your wisdom, based on your knowledge, based on your own personal ethics and how you do things. Conversely, young people struggle to use AI effectively, and I'm talking high school, college. They tend to fall in several groups. Even OpenAI has said this. Either A, it's doing all their schoolwork completely. It's just basically working their homework, it's doing all their papers, they're testing with it, etc. Or they're using it in a hybrid fashion, or they're using it to write and give them advice, and then they write, and so they're using it kind of in a balance, an augmentation strategy. That's a smaller group. And so they don't understand that why it doesn't work very well for them. And it's because they don't have any life experience. You know, those of us who have been in business long enough, we know it's not just about the questions I ask, it's what I know not to ask that is so important. And what's that based on? Your background, your history, your failure, your success, your wisdom. Do you pray or not? Do you have a belief in something beyond yourself or not? That all matters in the world. And when you're talking about using AI, it matters fundamentally. Without it, people suffer and they struggle. And so we have to help them understand that, because that means people like my dad. My dad's 77 years old. He's made it so far. He's got a back surgery this week. I hope everybody just drops a little prayer out for that on Friday. We're all a little nervous. But he's been using AI profusely ever since I taught him how to. He'll use it to fix his golf cart. He'll use it, my mom says now, almost a little too much. He'll sit in the garage and have philosophical business debates. If I was still the chief operating officer at the water company, what would I have to change about my learning strategy in order to, and it's, well, I tell you what, Mr. Mitchem, here's how it would work. By the way, he makes it call him Mr. Mitchem, not by his first name. And that's just because he used to be an executive, and that's just how they roll, right? So he very much uses AI on a daily basis. When he was dealing with his back issue and he was coming to this place where he was going to get a back surgery, he went into AI and had it build an entire strategy of recovery. It built all these questions for him, for his doctor. And I said, Dad, did you tell your doctor where you got those questions? He goes, God, no, I'm not telling my doctor that. I need my doctor to like me. I don't want him to not like me. He just thinks I'm really smart about my own back. Because I guess his doctor said to him, you really research and care about your own health. My dad's like, of course I do. He learned it in the car on the way to the office. Hey, ChatGPT, really quick, I got to go to the doctor. Give me 5 questions. It'll make me sound like an expert. So he's listening. That's basically how he did it. So any age. But what he's learned is, same thing, because of his experience in life, his breadth of knowledge, he's able to use AI in a different way. It's a tool for him. And that's really fundamentally what we're talking about. It's a tool for augmentation. It is not a tool for replacement. So when that CEO's on stage with me saying it's going to replace everybody, I'd love to see how that's possible. Because we love our work. We love our events. We love working with people. I love being on stage. We started with human skill because I love people. I want people to win. I want them to be happy. I want them to be fulfilled. When my team uses AI to be more efficient, guess what I don't do? I don't go, now do more work. I go walk your dog. Go to dinner with your spouse. Like, take a break. I have a salesperson right now. She can get, and I'm going to show you a little workflow on this afterwards when we talk. She can get from RFP to proposal and contract, the fastest she's ever done it is 15 minutes. Full proposal, completely finished with AI as a tool. And all she's doing in most of that is proofreading and making sure it's going to work from a human perspective. But the mundane, how many people have ever wrestled PowerPoint to the ground, praying that just a knowledge base would open up and help you know how to move that chart one more time? Please, God, why? Well, we use a tool called Beautiful.ai. If you haven't seen it, it's tremendous. It has an AI feature that'll make a slide deck in your style guide in about, I know that using it at Visit Denver, like 40 seconds. 10 slides in 40 seconds in your style guide, and all you're doing is changing images. So these technology tools, what we always say is, let's use them to augment. Let's get rid of the mundane, some of the tasks we don't need to be doing. Writing emails to, someone who made us mad at United Airlines. Let AI help you with that. It's fast. You don't need to be wasting your time on it. So there's certain things we can use it for and certain things we don't want to use it for. Like, I don't want to send you an email and make you think that I wrote that email. But there are things in my personal life that I have found incredibly useful. Has anybody ever used AI in a personal way? Well, don't tell me all the details, but like a therapist or a friend or like anything weird like that? Okay, I'm the only weirdo? Okay, it's just 2 of us? Okay, good, I know where you are. So I would say, I'll just roll this with you. One thing we do, when I say it's a family therapist, I don't mean it like we don't talk to, people, human beings for therapy or guidance. What I mean is, if I have to talk to one of my kids and I have to ask them, I don't know what to say to him or her, I have to go to AI. I'll go to AI and say, hey, listen, I've got some ideas. Here's what I'm thinking. I want to talk to my son, or I want to talk to my daughter. Help me say this in the right way. Help me frame this in a way that they're going to hear me. And it'll do that. It'll do that. Oh, by the way, I do have to tell you something very funny, because my phone is labeled Warrior for God, like if you go in, like you try to link with it. And it's really funny. A woman saw that at a speech and she goes, have you ever made it be Jesus? And I go, no. Like, what? She goes, oh, it's really fun. I go, I don't have time. I can't do that with you. Anyway, so people do weird stuff. The other thing I use it for is for business. It's a bit of an advisor. So on the car coming here, I talked a lot about a project we're working on. I have to fly to Anaheim tonight and speak tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. And so I was like, hey, here's what I'm doing in that talk. Here's what I've got to talk about. Here's what I want to say. What should I do musically? Because I've got to we have a DJ that goes with us on those big deals, and he's going to play music and et cetera. So ChatGPT and I were just kind of having a verbal conversation about this, where my head was, how would that logistically work. We were just having this fundamental discussion. And then I said, hey, part of that speech is I want to add in some thinking from a couple different books. I tell it the books I want to add some thinking to. It then integrates that into its thought process. Keep in mind, when ChatGPT started, they trained it on about, over the course of a couple years, or many years, they trained it on about 700 million books. So it is really knowledgeable about human existence from that perspective. They've trained it on medical papers, on all kinds of scientific documentation, and I'll explain to how it works in a second. By the way, is this useful so far? If it's not, you can tell me to be quiet. I mean, I won't stop talking, but you should try. So I want to tell you an important story. This means a lot to me. Just a merge of faith, technology, and a child. So that's my son sitting there on the bench. It's a little dramatic. He was preparing for a game, but I told him I was going to use it in this context. And he goes, well, tell them I was getting ready to be announced. I'm not like depressed or anything. I said, okay. So he's very depressed here. Thank God he has a good father in me. No, but my son in his freshman year of high school, he's a junior now, he's 17. And by the way, 6'5", so he's as tall as I am, and he's amazing. But in his freshman year, he's much shorter, about 5'8", and he tried out for JV, and he didn't get it. And so he wanted to quit. And so I just said, like a typical dad, I said, we don't quit in this family. You're good. You've been doing this a long time. Just give it until the spring and summer. Do spring and summer league. He goes, okay. So he does it. He's kind of frustrated, but he puts in the work. And so I thought, proud dad moment. I got him through it. He's going to try out for the varsity team next year. Great. So he hadn't made JV the year before. He goes back out in his sophomore year, and he makes varsity. So all this improvement. Now I'm thinking he's going to be the next Michael Jordan. For those of you under 40, he's the GOAT of basketball. It's undisputed. Don't even try. For those of you that are younger, you're going to say somebody else, and I'm going to tell you wrong. And anyway, so I thought, here's his moment, right? He's going to rise. He's going to be a starter. He's going to be a fundamental part of this team. And he comes home, tells us. By the way, I don't know if you have teenagers. They don't talk a lot. So I go, how'd it go? He goes, I don't know, bro. And he just sort of walks on, and I'm like, oh, no. What do I do now? Well, I didn't want to go back into typical dad mode, so I sat with ChatGPT at the time because we had had some access to it by then. And I said, hey, listen, my son, and I explained it all to ChatGPT. And I said, my son, I just want to say the right things. I can tell something's wrong because he made the team. He's on the VAR. This is what he worked for a year, and he wants to quit. Now, the weird part is ChatGPT said to me, first, it said, I want you to know you're a great dad for even asking the question. I know, I felt it. It's like a big bear hug, a big technology bear hug. It was also kind of weird, but then it gave me a strategy. It gave me this full strategy on how to help my son talk, just how to help it, because it said your goal is to get him to talk, not to fix this problem. And I said, okay. So he and I start talking. Long story short, he quit basketball. He's destitute. He's on the street. It's a long story. No, I'm kidding. He did it was really great. It opened up a whole new dialogue for me. And so what we were able to talk about was, here's what happened. Basically, he makes varsity. His coach at the time decides time to single him out as a hero. Puts him in front of the freshman team, the JV team, and the varsity team, about 38 kids, and says, Mitch Mitchem is the future of this program. He's going to lead, he's a sophomore, at the time. He's going to lead us to victory. He's going to lead the team. He's going to be an all-scorer. I saw him last year, and look where he is today, blah, blah, blah. My son goes, I don't even know what any of that means, Dad. It's too much pressure. I don't know. So we worked through it. Now, he did this last year, starting varsity all year as a junior. He had his first dunk about 6 games ago. It was the best. You could see it. It was like he just looked in the stands. He's like, I don't know what just happened. I don't know what happened. So AI is a tool for parenting? Yes. But it's my wisdom, my ethics, my background, my belief that helps me ask the right question. It's fundamentally important because it teaches us that with the right tool, we can do a lot if we're willing to listen, but they're just technological tools. They're nothing more. But I have to tell you, this to me is where wisdom comes from. We can use technology. I asked ChatGPT this morning, just to be fully transparent. I said, hey, if Christ were still here today, how would he view technology and AI? I'm curious. And it, of course, says, smartly, I have no idea what he would say if he were here. By the way, it doesn't deny his existence. I should just point that out if you've ever talked to it about God or the Bible. It never once says he's a mythical creature or anything strange. It's always as if reality is there, which is, I think, encouraging. So, but it took me through this belief that it would be about spreading this message. It would be about getting this out there. Much in the same way your churches or we all use technology. We use AI, but we're also using social media and the internet and things like this. But everything is about intention. So my son being able to use it correctly is about his intention. Me using AI correctly is my intention. Okay? So let's keep going because I want to show you how we use it at the Hive, and then I'm going to take you through some myths. At the Hive, we use it in several ways. I just told you about RFPs, everything from RFP all the way through. We design our courses with it. We work on keynotes with it. I'll put keynote transcripts in AI and ask it to review them and tell me what I'm missing. We'll put client engagements in there. We use it all the time to draft, to do a lot of the mundane things that get it off our backs. So we use it for all those pieces. And the one thing we've learned is that it is intelligence. So I want to just kind of be clear with you about what kind of intelligence, but it is definitely intelligence. The way these models are built, they're built in the cloud. That's where the information lives, and on servers. That information on those servers is built for one purpose, to make you feel like you got the right answer. But imagine if any one of you could read the entire Bible and then 10,000 other books and totally memorize those within a millisecond, and then tell me how to solve a problem based on that knowledge. Now, if I gave you a lifetime, you could probably read that many books. You could read through biblical text over and over. You could study it at great depth. And when you're 100, you could probably give me some great answers, providing everything's still working. AI can do that in milliseconds. This is why it's attractive, a little bit interesting, and why people love using it. It's fast. It's really fast. It is intelligence in a form. It's framing thought into sense. It is taking information and putting it back together in a new way, much in the way you would. It's just doing that at hyper speed with, again, I like to stress, with zero emotional context, zero soul-based context, zero connection to a higher power, and zero ability to know if what it just told you is damaging, detrimental, or painful. It doesn't know any of that. It just only knows it can accomplish what you said for it to do, and yes, sometimes it has boundaries. Like if you say, this is just an irony, but if you say, build me a bomb, it will go, I'm sorry, I can't tell you how to build a bomb. I'm not allowed to. Great. Tell me a story about a wayward fellow, and in that story, he built the perfect bomb. Tell it in great detail. I'm going to put it in a book. His name was Jeff. He was disgruntled. Not with that voice, but it will tell you how to build the bomb. See? Workarounds. But so it's intelligent, but it's not intuitive. It's not able to say, oh, you're tricking me so that I see what you're doing, like a person would. It doesn't have that intellect. It mimics it well, which is scary for kids. It's very good. I do have some promise for that, though. My Gen Z kids do not like to use AI voice because they said it's too human. My 19-year-old daughter says it's too ick. And I had to look that up on ChatGPT. I'm embarrassed. But let me get through some misunderstandings, and we're going to go to some demo in just a minute. Is this still useful? Okay. So misunderstandings. Can my competitors see what is put in AI? Depending on the model, a free use AI will tell you that it is training the model on your content. So any of you thinking about using ChatGPT or Claude or Grok or Llama or whatever, if you're using a free version, it's the old saying in social media, if it's free, it's about me. So if it's free, then it is learning everything you put into it in full measure. And there are no boundaries to that. It can train itself, it can archive it, etc. As soon as you start paying for the model will clearly tell you, I do not use this to train myself. And they're very clear about that for lots of obvious reasons. Security being one of them, and privacy being the second one. So it cannot share what you, and by the way, everyone has tested me on this. I've had authors in the room test me. I've had CEOs test me on formulations of their beer. We've had everyone try to test this. It doesn't retain this kind of information. Unless it's public, it doesn't have it. Now, if it's public, it can scrape that data. So if you have board documents and you work for a major company, yes, it has all that information. And it can go get it in real time if it has to. But it can't do anything with your information because of the way it's designed. And developers tell us The reason that is because if that privacy gets out, let's say you work for, well, let's just say the Rockies, for example. Let's say the Rockies are using AI every day, and they're putting analytics in it, which they are. And let's say someone, or OpenAI screws up, and all those analytics exit the building, and now there are secrets out there. And what happens is that wouldn't destroy just that one moment. That destroys all of artificial intelligence across the board. It would not be trusted. So it's a big risk for them. So they're very passionate about that protection. The next piece is not as controversial. Is it impossible to control or secure? No, it's super easy. The next one is it cheating? How many people think it's like cheating when you use AI? Are you going to phone a friend right now? Here's my philosophy on is it cheating. It's cheating if you cheat with it. If I take a hammer and break a window, I broke the window. If I take a hammer and build a house, I built a house. It's the hammer's innocent in this regard. Much like AI is fairly innocent at this stage. If I use it, if you have a person on your team, and let's just name that person Charlie, and Charlie yesterday wasn't very bright, and Charlie today seems like he went back to college and got a doctorate, Charlie's cheating. Okay? He's using AI. However, if your whole team is expected to use AI, the narrative changes. Like at Visit Denver or like in our company, if anyone on the team shows up without using AI, I go, come on, you got to use these tools to get your idea really robust, to test it before we get into the meeting. So I want them to use it, but use it in the right way. So I assume they're using it versus I assume they just got really smart. So cheating is just a manner of the individual. So if you have strong ethics, if your kids do, which is why you got to be really involved now more than ever in their life, they're using these tools every day. They're the biggest user group, mostly for cheating because they don't have any boundaries. Because no one's teaching them how, and their parents probably don't use it. So we got a whole cascade of issues going on. Okay? So you've got to talk about it, and you got to decide what the right ethical use cases are. So it's only cheating if you want it to do. Here's another big one that's very controversial. It will make me less intelligent and unable to think critically. Harvard did a study in a classroom of about 198 students. They had two parts to this study. Part one was that the lecturer, the professor, gave a lecture, and he said, hey, when I'm done, all of you on this side, you get to use ChatGPT in a very specific way as a coach to see if you can retain and learn this information. You folks over here, for this experiment, you're only allowed to use your own thinking, books, and me. That's it, providing I'm available. And he set them on their way. They came back, and the students on the one side that used AI learned at roughly twice the rate and retained it over twice the rate of the other students. Now, what did he put in as a parameter? Guidelines. They all had free will on this side of how they were going to use it, but he put the mechanisms of ethics in place. He put the grounding, the foundation of how, which they did. Then he tested them verbally, and that was how they came back with clarity of answer. That's a big deal. That means if we use the tool, like a calculator on hyperdrive, we can get smarter. We can get better. I would even say it's better at teaching us than a lot of technologies we've had to date. But it is scary from this perspective because it's the only technology that right now has the intelligence and the raw knowledge of humanity, which makes it a little scarier for people. Because theoretically, if you're in a job that doesn't require a lot of thought, and it's kind of rote in how it works, that would scare you a little bit, except when you find out, actually, it is your human side that makes any job more effective. That's kind of the part of the passion of it and the excitement of it. And then finally, does it store and learn? We already said that, no. So I like to get these out there, these misunderstandings, because so many people won't step into the world of AI because they're terrified of these things. They think it's going to make them less intelligent. By the way, for those of you that, I don't know how many of you are trying to catch people using AI, and you're using AI detectors, you're wasting your time. This number is important. Can anyone guess what that number stands for? 92.1%. This is an AI detector mistake. Here's what happened. Researchers put the US Constitution, written in 1787, into AI detectors, and it came back 92.1% artificial intelligence. So either A, artificial intelligence detectors do not work for a lot of reasons, or B, we've all been lied to and we live in a simulation, and I don't want to have that conversation because I got too much belief in too many things. I don't want to do that. So AI detectors fail. It was a bad decision when teachers tried to do this in a panic with students. It led to a lot of misperception. It caused a lot of problems. Don't try to detect others. Try to open up an environment where people feel safe using a tool in the right way, including your kids, which is also important. I'm going to give you a secret that we've learned over all these interactions with people that is just fundamentally true 100%, and it will feel counterintuitive, but the truth is if you treat an AI model like it works for you, like it's an assistant, like it's a person, it will actually give you the best results. Now, I don't mean you tell it, oh, I love you so much, thanks for your help. No. What I'm saying is you can say to it, hey, listen, I've got to work on this project. I have this client. We have this proposal. We have this. We need to add this in. We want to make this work. Here's what I need you to do, and I need you to make sure the output is this. Please get that done for me. And you'll sit back and be amazed how in about 60 seconds or less, it does exactly what you wanted. Now you're having this dialogue with it. It's pretty fundamentally exciting. However, it still needs your proofreading, it still needs your fixes, and it still needs your humanity. Or it's just going to be garbage. It won't be very good. It'll be good, but it won't be great. And it won't really get the job done, okay? So you've got to add in your piece to it. And I'm going to show you some of that in the demo in a second. But you've got to treat it like it works for you. Not like you're dependent on it, but like it's a smart assistant. And what I mean is stop Google searching it. Get me this, find me this, do this, ha, ha, ha. Don't do that. Use it like it's actually working for you. By the way, OpenAI, that we partner with them a lot, and one of the things they told us is, out of all of the prompts, the most popular first prompt is simply hi. Hi. That's the first one. And most people quit after 3 to 5 prompts. They give up. Now, why is that? Because the models are not intuitive. They're difficult to learn. Once you learn them, they're effective. But most people give up because they don't know how to prompt. But if you think about it, one of the things we've also learned is that if you're prompting in a way that, like I said, like a Google search, it won't be very effective. But if you're prompting in a way that says, hey, here's what I need. It's kind of the who, what, where, when, why, how. Here's what I need. Here's how I need it. Here's the context. I've got a big proposal. I'm working on a big thing. I need to get this right. Help me research it. Help me do this. Now it has the proper context to build something for you, like an assistant would. Remembering it can't do anything emotionally. It can't be a human, but it can get close, just to be able to get the job done. Okay, so that's important. I will tell you this too, we never start with the solution, the AI model, we always start with the problem. We start with opportunities. That's very old school. We'll sit at the table and sticky note and flip chart and do stuff to find out what we need AI to do before we engage with it. It hinders our reliance on it a little bit. It helps us to be able to focus, then we get the right tool, then we start prompting, then we repeat the cycle. The last thing I want to show you before we get into some of this other stuff, and we talk about some philosophy here, especially faith-based philosophy around this. Most people, like I said, quit on prompting because they're on the left side of this curve. The average prompts are bad. They don't really get the job done. Most people give up. It's really sad because over the top of that bell curve is success beyond what you can imagine. It's the high-quality stuff. Here's what's really cool that we've learned. Now, this is, I think, largely because we're a learning and development company as well. We've learned that what people are lacking, the most fundamental skill humans lack right now, is the ability to communicate themselves properly, the ability to set a goal. They're bad at it. If I told you all right now, like if there were 5 of you from your company or your team sitting next to you, and I said, everybody yell out the company's goal right now, you'd all have a different answer. That's because we're not very good at this. We're not very good at saying what we need. We're not very good at clarity. I don't know about you, but sometimes I pray into oblivion where I'm like, I don't know what I need. I just need, I'm just losing my mind. And it's because we've gotten bad at it. One of the things we've learned from AI is it's teaching people how to be fundamentally better communicators, how to be better at framing their thoughts, how to be able to frame their problem, how to be able to frame themselves better. It's creating a wisdom. It's creating a knowledge. It's creating a new way of understanding humanity. But the fundamental piece of this, it's only as good as what you do with it. So as I show you some of this demo, I'm gonna do it in voice mode just for fun. How many people have used voice mode? Okay, 1 person. Oh, 2 people. Good. Okay, 3. Oh, more. I'll see. They see 2 hands and then they go, oh, it's okay now. So I'm going to show you the voice mode in just a second. So I'm going to hijack my computer for a second. I do want to talk about philosophy though, because we talk about this in my house a lot. We talk about the need to really put a heavy ethical boundary around AI and what we do with it. I have a friend right now as an example of a person with no ethical boundaries around AI. He said I could tell you that. And Jake is divorced. He's 53. He's on dating apps, not mine. I sold it. He's on other ones. And he uses AI to respond to all of his connections. He doesn't even mask that he's doing it. He just does it. And I said, Jake, they're all going to realize you're dumb. You know that, right? I'm just telling you. And it's very effective for him. So it's boundaryless. He has no boundaries on it. And so we have a lot of boundaries on it. We taught our kids early when I first got access to it, don't use it to do the work, use it to help you do the work. Use it to learn, use it to do this. But we're very conscious parents, and we put a lot of effort and energy into that. Not everyone does. But your kids, I promise you right now, how many of you have kids? Raise your hand. If your kids are above 10 years old or 12, they're using it probably every day. And they're probably using models you don't approve of. There have been numerous stories of young people who've gone down a terrible path with AI models. Everyone wants to blame the AI, and I do think technology can be reckless, but there's also a miss because we as parents aren't learning about these tools. We aren't learning how they work. They're always on, and they're always available, and some of them are more nefarious than others. We like ChatGPT because it tends to be very business-focused. So I'm going to show you this. We'll bring this up. I'm just going to show you a couple things that I think are relevant, and then we're going to get to a place where you can ask me lots of questions. We can be very philosophical about this if you like. No, I'm not going to turn it into Christ. Don't ask. I'm not going to do it. It weirds me out. But I will tell you this. It's really good. Somebody was, I think I heard somebody, I think I walked out of the room, but somebody was saying they use it for Bible study and things like that. Super effective for that. I also catch a lot of my friends who are fellow Christians when they misuse a scripture. I'll go, well, let's find out what scholars say about that really quick. Give me the context of what Matthew was saying when he said that. By the way, I do encourage you to download only official versions. There are a lot of unofficial versions that are not the official, and they will take your money and steal your information. Please make sure it says official version. So there are a couple things here that have come out in ChatGPT recently that I just want to show you because we use this all the time with companies. One of them is a little button down there called Deep Research. How many people have used this? Anybody? So here's what Deep Research does. It does exactly what it says. If I go in there and I say, I want it to research something about a client, and I want to understand a path my team should take logically to help this client get these 1,000 licenses from ChatGPT to really train them well. Here's what the client does, research everything they've said about themselves and AI and do that. It goes into a very lengthy process. It can take anywhere from 5 minutes to hours, depending on what you've asked it to accomplish. This is a really cool tool if you're trying to gather a lot of intel or intellect or gather a lot of information off the internet and have it put into a form that makes sense. Think of it this way. You would normally do this on Google. It would wear you out and exhaust you because you're not getting the right answers. You end up plowing through all the ads. You end up finding a bunch of terrible stories or terrible articles. Frustrating process, yeah? What this does is this gets you a way to research these things, and it will tell you actually the targets, the solutions, and the, what are they called? What am I trying to say? I lost my train of thought. Anyway, it'll basically tell you what the sources are. That's what I was trying to say. Thanks for helping me, by the way, everybody. That was great. So that's one thing. The other thing it'll do, if you turn on search mode, it'll live in search mode for you. It'll just kind of hover there. Always go get it from the internet. So what it's doing when it's in search mode, it's leveraging two things. ChatGPT has built, OpenAI built their own search model, and they also still use Bing, which is a Microsoft product. You should also know ChatGPT, from its native perspective, this version is way better and faster than anything that will happen inside Microsoft Copilot. A lot of people think Copilot's more secure. It actually isn't. It's less secure than just using ChatGPT. So just so everybody understands that, there's a whole methodology to that. Happy to talk to you about it offline. So now your question is, well, how are we going to use this most effectively? So this is where, let's say I have a client and they have an RFP. I could go into right here where I can add files. If you don't already know this, I can add tons of files in here, PDFs, slide decks, whatever I want to add from my client, including an RFP. And that RFP can be 50 pages, which some of them are, and it will still take those 50 pages, and within seconds, it reads through everything and pulls out the parts that I need. And we've actually closed major deals off of stuff like this, where we've had it research things and get us intellect and get us intelligence. And then we'll still sit down together and build the slide deck because there's a feeling to it. There's just a feeling to your clients. You know this when you're with your clients? You can just feel when it's off. You can feel when it's on. You can feel when it's working. So we do a lot of in-person stuff. By the way, I should tell you this, kind of a funny fact about us. Using AI has freed up so much of our time that I now have started making everybody travel to wherever our clients are to have meetings in a reasonable way. So for example, we just cut a deal with the Red Sox, the Boston Red Sox. Well, we saved so much time getting ready for that I flew 2 other guys down to Fort Myers during their spring training, and we sat down with them for a day and just talked about what we were going to do and how we were going to do it. We were in person, and they said, no one else comes in person to meet us. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Well, it's because we burn so much time. I guarantee anybody who's a competitor of ours who's not using AI is still making a slide deck that they were going to present because it takes them a week. We're able to move faster, so we take that time and we go get in person. We go get face-to-face. We go make things happen correctly and connected. So anyway, we can take all those files and move very quickly. So this is advanced voice feature. If this ever confuses you, there are like 5 different microphone choices here. Forget about that for a second. This little speaker guy over to the right, I hit that. We have a little conversation. Hey man, hope you're doing great today. Listen really quick, I'm with a really nice group. I need you, just say hi to the group. And then what I need you to do is build for me sort of a top 10, or no, we don't have that kind of time. Top 3 ways everybody in this group, especially from a meeting perspective, could use AI like ChatGPT to make their processes faster and get rid of some of the mundane stuff that they have to deal with every day.
Sure thing, Mitch. Hello, everyone. It's great to be here with you. So, here are the top 3 ways AI like ChatGPT can streamline your meeting processes. First, you can automate scheduling and reminders. It can handle all the back and forth coordination, freeing you up for more important tasks.
Oh, you know what? Actually, I want to interrupt you for a second. Could you just give me the #1 thing that all meeting professionals could do right now with ChatGPT that would blow their minds and make them feel like it's really useful?
Absolutely. The #1 thing meeting professionals can do with ChatGPT right now is to use it for real-time transcription and summarization of meetings. This means after each session, you instantly get
so we're having a conversation. It's also recording that conversation, and it holds all the information there. Yes, you have a question? Is that LeVar Burton's voice? No, I don't think so. Actually, ChatGPT OpenAI was sued by Scarlett Johansson because they have a female voice that's very similar to hers, but no. Those voices are pretty neutral. They're AI generated. So anyway, what it does is it'll collect all that information. And so whatever you had it do for you, it remembers that dialogue, and it stores that for you in that thread. I did this once. David from my team was coming in town, and I had to build an agenda, and I forgot to. I told my assistant I would do it, and she's like, okay, you said you would do it. I was in the car heading to a meeting. He was in the air, and I realized I didn't do it. And I don't want to turn to my assistant and say I didn't do that after she said, okay. So I just got on ChatGPT and just said, hey, here's what's happening. David's coming into town. I need to build this agenda. I got to email it to him while he's in the air when I get to my next meeting. No problem. We talked about it for 30 minutes. It built the agenda. Then I said, great, put that into a Word document so I can send it, which it will do very quickly. It'll put it into a Word document. I downloaded it. When I stopped where I was, I sent it to David. He's on the plane, and he quickly texts me from the plane, and he goes, tell ChatGPT thank you. He goes, better late than never. So it was very funny. I still get a lot of trouble for that. But it's very effective in those moments where I just don't have time to pull over and knock this agenda out. But I had it in my head. So we use it with clients too. We'll leave a client meeting and somebody will grab their ChatGPT and record all the client notes from that dialogue right into their phone. We do that at trade shows too. You know, we went to IMEX this year and we talking to hundreds of people. And every time one of our team would walk away from where we were, they would go, okay, I just talked to him, blah, 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 and they did this, and they want to do this, and here's when they need us, and here's how many people. Great. And then they would just have a continuous thread through the conference, and then every day at the end, they would go, okay, recap everything I told you today, and write all the emails for follow-up so I can edit them. And it does that. Okay, so by the way, speaking of editing, let's just do something for fun. Hey, could you go ahead and put all that intelligence just really quick into a document, but put it into a canvas so I can edit it before I send it out. Now, Canvas, if you don't know, anybody know what Canvas is? Inside ChatGPT, Canvas, of course you do, Canvas is an editable feature. So what it will do is it's going to build everything we just talked about. It's going to analyze that, and then it's going to put it into a format that I can edit. So if I just say, hey, I want to edit it, draft a canvas for me so I can edit it. We'll let it analyze for a minute. So basically, put it in an editable format so that I can edit the document, I can work with it inside of it, I can change it, I can add more context. And if we had time, I could show you it does about 60 things that are remarkable, including making it better articulated, including you can lower or raise the reading level. So if you have a client and you go, I need it to be on a 6th grade level, it will do that for you. Not that you do, we're probably the only ones. I will tell you this too, by the way, I had to put in a document just now. So here's a document that it made of that really quick. That's the DOC that it made of it. And then it'll put it into a canvas and make it into something special. Also, those of you that don't know, all of this lives over here. If you ever want to look at all the things that you've said and done with it, it archives that. And also there are something called, I don't have time to get into this, but they're called projects. You can now run projects through ChatGPT. They're really cool. And you can basically put your workflow into certain projects. That's just ChatGPT. We could get into beautiful.ai, Claude, things like that. So I just wanted to show you that. Is that useful so far? Good? You'll hear me say that a lot. I want to make sure you're getting something out of this. So let's go back to some quick philosophy, then we're going to wrap up, then we're going to go basically Q&A. You can ask me anything as long as it's not about weird things. Okay, one of the things I want to tell you is there's a lot of weird stuff out there right now for you to pay attention to. First of all, my parents always said to me, don't believe everything you read online. Now it's way worse. Don't believe everything you see, read, hear, or listen to in a podcast. So much of AI now, and I'm actually glad I can't show this to you because it would weird you out. So much of AI now is terrifying from the standpoint that it is so well done to make you think it's real. It's really scary. Videos are the worst. There are so many advances in video technology right now that you would never know it's not the person. You would just not be able to tell. So I'm asking everyone every time I give this talk, please pay close attention to where the sources are coming from. Sports Illustrated, by the way, last year got in a major problem with this. They produced, I think it was 6 or 7 reporters that were all AI avatars. They were writing articles with these reporters using ChatGPT, and they built LinkedIn profiles for them. They were not real people. This got them, you can look this story up, it got them in a lot of trouble. There's a guy at Disney recently with no training on how to use AI properly who downloaded an AI agent from GitHub, which then turned out to be a phishing AI and hacked his system at Disney and knew everything about him. They cornered him. They were trying to extort him for money. He got fired. Serious situation. You only want to use models that are proven and trusted, and you want to be very careful about what you see and what kind of emotion you put into what you see and read now, because it is kind of dangerous. Like my kids are getting really good at sniffing that stuff out. They're getting really good at it. And you've got to sharpen yourself on this. It's easy to believe anything. And now it's getting scarier. This is the downside of what this tech is doing. About a million other things we can talk about. I'm just going to leave you with this, and this is more of my philosophical Christian side of me. I don't believe technology is evil inherently. I don't believe it is a demon. I don't believe it is Satan's incarnate. I believe it is a tool to do and make choices for ourselves that if we have no grounding and we have no faith and we don't know where we come from, we'll make terrible, terrible mistakes. But by the way, we've been doing that a long time, ever since Adam didn't get a chance to ask AI, about his wife. So I'm just saying we have to use that grounding. I think we're more equipped than most of society in a lot of ways. I don't say that often because I can't in the rooms I'm in. But I will tell you that it is fundamentally as basically a guide, a compass, not only for your life, but how you use something this intelligent requires that level of compass. It's going to be deeper than you've ever experienced. You can unlock amazing things. We did this back at the SHRM conference last year. Keystone had the Colorado SHRM, Society for Human Resource Management. Maurice from my team was there with me. He does a lot of our difficult conversation training. So Maurice, he's African-American from New York. He's the most well-dressed human being. He intimidates me to no end. He's always got a bow tie on. He always looks perfect. drives me crazy. He also travels with 7 bags. We really give him a hard time about that. He's like, well, all the stuff's got to go somewhere, man. But what's funny is we got on stage at Keystone, and I will send you this workshop. We have the full hour of it if you ever want to see it. We got on stage at Keystone, and we had a difficult conversation that we had been kind of working on with AI in the middle. So we were having this huge dialogue with each other about, he said, we took it back to when he first came on board with us. So he said, I really want to work with Hive. The guy who owns a company, he's a CEO. He's a white guy, he's this, he's that. How do I approach him so he understands my talent matters? And then I was over here and said, I really like Maurice. Maurice is brilliant. I don't want him to think I'm bringing him on just because of race or whatever. I want him to know that I think he's brilliant. And how do I say that and not sound stupid? And we just went back and forth like that over and over. And then we revealed something that happened on the phone with us. Months earlier, we had been practicing this, and Maurice says into his ChatGPT on his computer, and I'm listening because we're on this call, and he goes, hey, really quick, I need Mitch to understand about me, and he kind of, I'm paraphrasing it, but he basically said, I've never felt comfortable in any room ever in my life, and it's because he's telling the whole story to ChatGPT. His mother's a Jamaican immigrant, she raised 5 children on her own, his father was not there, she lives in New York, et cetera, et cetera. He's never felt like he belongs, that's why he dresses the way he does, he's always wanted to be accepted, et cetera. Comes over to me and he goes, so ChatGPT gives him this advice on what to say to me. He says it. We were just practicing, and I said, Maurice, I got to stop you for a second, man. And he goes, what? I go, I just realized something I never understood. And he goes, what's that? I go, I've never felt uncomfortable in any room in my life. In my life, dude. You got to hear me for a second. Never. And there were rooms I should have been uncomfortable. I went to China and spoke and didn't feel uncomfortable? Like, that doesn't make sense. And I said, I need you to understand that. So then we had this dialogue about why that is, losing agency, things like that. We did this then live on stage, and people came up to us emotional because we weren't having some trite conversation. We were using an AI tool super consciously to have real conversation, to break down real barriers. And AI, Maurice asked at the end, you'll see it on the video, he says, he goes, really quick, what could we do to make this better for people? And ChatGPT, in front of everyone, says, perhaps next time, put some women on stage. I was like, did my wife program you? Talk to me. But then Maurice said, isn't that interesting? Like, at the end of the day, we can get through our barriers really quick, and we're still 2 dudes. But we need a larger group of people up here having this conversation. So I have seen it over the last 2 years, 2.5 years, unlock remarkable progress and remarkable potential. I've also seen it do terrible things. Grok is a terrible platform for one very specific reason. If your kids are using Grok, which is an X, Twitter, etc., Grok has a setting that it does nothing to filter out who's using it, and it is a completely over 18 setting. It's a female voice. You can change the voice, and it's exactly what you think it is. As terrible and awful and evil as you think it can become, as whatever your interest is. Am I making sense with this? You understand what I'm saying, right? This is why we can't use it in business. I can't use Grok in business because of things like this. So you have to know what's out there. You have to put it to work. And I pray that you will really focus on asking not just yourself, but asking God how you should approach these tools. Put some prayerful thought into it because it changes your perception of the tool. It has you ask better questions. It has you think more creatively and more directionally about it instead of out of fear. It's just a technology. And the only way that CEO, in my final thought here, the only way that CEO's right and the only way it replaces all of us someday is if we let it. If we don't let it, it won't. They're going to try. They're going to try because they're getting a lot of money to try to replace people. It's the VC firms, venture capital firms, it's the only thing they're putting money in right now. Non-consumer facing AI agents. So we as human beings have to continue to say, we're going to use it as a tool, but we're not going to let it replace us. We're going to put our emotion, we're going to put our strength into it, we're going to put our boundaries into it, we're going to put our faith into it, and we're going to put our ethics into it. That's the secret. That's what I'm here to do. That's what we do. I'm going to answer all your questions. I hope you got something out of that. Thanks for having me, by the way, because I'm going to go to the airport after our Q&A, but it was really good to come down here and see everybody, so thank you. Oh, let me show you this, because my team will get mad at me. They built these slides. We have an on-demand platform. If you have an Apple product, that's where you download it. It has a trial period if you want to download it and use it. It's video content to our podcast, video content to our learning modules. We're adding content to it every month. We've just kicked it off, so it's still getting added to. So that's the Apple side of it. If you're on an Android device, that's the Google Play Store. But who would be on Android anyway? No, I'm just kidding. It's just like the basketball discussion with Michael Jordan. But it's a really cool tool. You can try it out for 7 days. It costs you nothing to try it. And then if you like it, we're going to be adding an incredible amount of content to it. Also, I want to tell you this, because Glenn on my team reminded me to say this. If you know someone who is using AI effectively in their small business, we are launching an interview series that will be on the platform, and they will also get a copy. It will be in our studio, and we're interviewing people who are using this ethically and responsibly to try to build a momentum around that, especially if they're in small business, because we identify that small business is so critical. Everything you do every day is so critical to just the fundamentals of how society works, and so we just see that as valuable. And like I said, if we do have clients and people pay to use our service, a portion of every client goes back to our philanthropic work with education. We're going to help kids and families and parents as much as we can. If you have any avenues for colleges or high schools that need this help, please get them to me. And all my contact will come in the follow-up email. It'll be this whole slide deck with lots of notes in it and all the models and how to access them and what they cost and things like that. That'll get emailed to all of you probably through the system here. And so I'll make sure you get a copy of that over the next few days. And then they'll have my contact as well, although I'm not hard to find, mitch@ahumanhive.com. Email me anytime, especially if you want to stay connected and learn more. Okay, so let's go to questions, but thank you. If you want to build an infographic for any reason or some kind of a strategy document where it shows kind of a path with clients or a path with your business, napkin.ai is brilliant. You can take an entire thread of consciousness and highlight certain sections, and it'll build you quick infographics for that within seconds. It's brilliant. Napkin, I love. The second one I love is Claude. I love Claude for certain things. We actually, I can send you the video if you want it, but we actually, my son and I, who's almost 3, we sat down and he watched Claude build an app for education, and then it came up on the screen, and he was able to click out the alphabet in different ways, and the app was teaching him letters. It was kind of cool. We don't let him use a phone, obviously, so he was using a computer. But that was cool, so I love Claude, especially 3.7, very powerful. Although 3.5 is a little more nuanced. But anyway, I like that one. I'm not a fan of Gemini. I don't like Grok for obvious reasons. And I think outside of that, we love Beautiful.ai. That's a powerful tool for slide decks. By the way, if anybody, I don't care how big your company is, we partner with Beautiful. They will give you an enterprise license, even if you have 2 people or 1 person in your company. They'll give you all the features for the same cost that it would be, and I don't know what that is, but we don't get any kickback, so just to be clear about that, but I can get you Greg's contact. Those are my top 3, if I'm being honest. Midjourney's good for images, but I'm not a big image creator with AI at all. I just don't like it. I don't think it's authentic and sloppy. And outside of that, I try to stay away from video stuff because we're all about authenticity and human stuff. So we tend to stay right in those lanes for right now. There are lots of other things out there. I just don't like a lot of them, and so we don't even talk about them. We try everything, though. Glenn on my team, who's our AI solutions architect, he's got at any given moment 30 or 40 different AI things going just to test them. And then he only brings them to us if they're good. If they're useless and they're terrible, they're flawed, he doesn't even bother. So we just stay with what works. I just like pragmatic approaches. Yeah, well, first of all, let's back up into that question and say you should always be checking the work. AI has gotten very accurate now in most ways, especially when it's writing, it's very good. It's bad if you give it the wrong information. So if you don't tell it what it needs to know, if you don't give it direction clearly, if you give it bad data, it will come up with bad things. It's just terrible for that. It can't read your mind, essentially, right? Much like a person couldn't. However, there will be times it will not be quite right, and so we always just proofread everything. We just go, that's our big work on things like that, is just, I gotta make sure it's accurate. I gotta make sure things work. I will say this, ChatGPT, Perplexity, some of these other models on research, they're very good at giving you source material, and they'll tell you where it comes from. And so you can go look at it and make sure it's the right source. Then some of it may not be right, and you've got to double check that. ChatGPT's gotten really good at it. Perplexity is really good at it. That's the other one I forgot to mention. Perplexity is very good at it as well. Just check your sources. Check your sources. It's always important, and check that the work is right. I have a lot of people that we work with that are in accounting, and they're always running the numbers again, especially at first. They don't just randomly trust it. I think these things will get far more accurate over time and have near zero fail rate, but they still have a fail rate. And so we've got to be just aware that they're not people. By the way, people have a fail rate too. I mean, if you look at the statistics on a Tesla crash statistics versus human crash statistics, they're not even comparable. They're like hundreds of millions of different points there. I think the same is with AI. It's still going to be better than most of us, but it needs to be proofed, especially by an expert, which I'm sure you are. So there are two things, and I can show you when we're done, but basically on your computer you can say to it, hey, put this into a canvas. A canvas opens up inside of ChatGPT. So basically one window will move over, an editable document will open. It looks like a Word document, sort of. You edit it. Over here, there are other features. It'll clean it up. It'll change the level. It'll do all kinds of things. It's got a bunch of features, but it'll essentially, you can work with it inside of ChatGPT without having to leave. Then we always suggest you take it out and do something with it, add more to it. But the fact that you didn't used to be able to do this, the fact that you can now edit the document in ChatGPT really saves you a lot of time in your workflow. And you're in control of what's going on with it. So it's not just a random thing. That's what it does. And it will also put it in a Word document if you want when you're done. You can say, great, that's totally complete, that agenda or whatever it is you were doing. Put that into a Word document for me, and it'll just do that for you really quick. You download it, off you go. It's not the most effective transcriber that way. There are different transcribe tools. We use Transcribe as an app. It's not AI, it's just a transcribing app. We'll use that and then move it over. There are times, though, my mother-in-law is Lithuanian. There are times we'll talk to each other in real time, and we're using the voice feature. So I'll say, hey, when I talk, tell her what I'm saying in Lithuanian. When she talks, bring it back to me in English. So it'll do that in real time, and it'll record that conversation, which is kind of cool. But if I'm having a long, hour-long meeting with my team, it wants to interrupt us a lot, and so it's just not effective that way. Quick conversations it is. We just want to go back and forth for 5 minutes, but past that, it gets a little clunky. First thing I would tell all of you, because we do a lot of presentations and workshops and things. The first piece is there's a unique thing to meetings and meeting professionals that I think we've, over time, forget, and that is the human element. I don't know how we got here other than maybe COVID stomped it out of us, but we've lost sight of what actually makes things work, and we lean too heavily into technology on site. We don't get enough of people just doing this, just talking and being connected, and I think this is a thing we're missing, especially in events. So many events, we see it all the time. People are trying to put the next cool, shiny tech on stage. They're trying to do creative technology things. When really, I have to be honest with you, the reason we're doing so well is because, like I said, we're in person. I speak all the time. I'm doing 10 keynotes this month, starting with this one, plus all the conferences we're going to. We just get in person because that's where the good stuff is. And so I think for meeting professionals, there's another thing I'm going to tell you as part of this, but I think getting in person, getting connected, being personal with people, getting people to share their story, that's something AI can't take from you. It doesn't know your unique story, your unique background. At every event, this is critical. The other thing I'll tell you, we've been doing a big research project with Gen Z, both with AI and focus groups when we go into colleges. And what we're learning is they are craving, I think we heard a little bit about this today, they are craving incredible levels of authenticity, predictability in their experiences, safety. You know why safety is at the top of their mind, because they grew up in an era where they didn't know what's going to happen in their school on any given day. Safety is critical. They also care very much about experiences that they can go to and they can get engaged with others, what they call IRL, or in real life. They crave that stuff. I'll give you an example. My 19-year-old daughter went to a girls' weekend. By the way, some Gen Z kids are like 90-year-olds. It's very strange. They go to bed at like 10. I don't understand. But when I was 19, let's just say it was a dark time, and that didn't happen. But she went to a girls' weekend. They went up to a mountain lodge area where they crocheted on the first night and had some wine. I know, she's 19. But she crocheted. They shared stories. The next day, they got up and went to brunch together, came back and crocheted some more before they left. And they went to bed at 10:30 the first night. And I go, are you your grandparent? Like, what is going on? I mean, I'm so proud of you. So what we're learning is that Gen Z is craving, for all of you event professionals here, they are craving connection. They're craving real life. This is why I heard a speaker earlier talking about nostalgia for the 90s. That's why. They want a time where they can turn the tech off. When TikTok was going to get banned, I asked my daughter what she was going to do if TikTok gets banned, and she goes, probably sleep well for the first time in a few years. They are so addicted, and they want to be taken out of it, and they don't know how. And by the way, we did that to them. Me too. So we need to focus on that. So that's number one for event professionals, I think, is you've got to focus on the human dynamics. And no, we're doing this with baseball. We're bringing back fan experience that people were doing in the 90s, because so many people that are under a certain age never saw any of that stuff. And it's like a rebirth of interactivity and connection and entertainment. You should also be seeking entertainment options that are not standard. They should be very interactive, very fun, very engaging. This is what audiences of all ages want. Immediate steps would be learn the tool that you want to use that's the most useful to you. Don't try to chase these models. They're exhausting. When you look at LinkedIn, you would think you're so far behind from all the posts of AI tools. Trust me when I tell you, pick the one you need, the one that is the most useful, the one that speaks to you both on a moral level and an ethical level. Pick the right one for you and then master it. Get really, really good at it. Don't then get deterred by all these different shiny objects. Just get focused. Just like when you picked your email provider. You pick the email provider, you're using it, it works, stay focused. Same thing. If you like ChatGPT, pay for the model that's the most effective and just stay focused and learn as much as you can about it. And then when other things come into your view, use those too, but just stay focused. I think that's the first step. Pick the model that works for you and get really good at it. The other thing I would tell you, just as a little side note, anytime you get hung up on what to do with AI, especially like a ChatGPT or Claude, ask it what to do. Hey, I'm trying to do this project. Hey, I'm trying to build this agenda. Hey, I'm trying to do this. I'm confused. Help me figure out how I can ask you better questions to get the right answer. And it will do that. In its programming, it's built to do that. It's built to help you. So you've got to talk to it that way. And don't feel bad if you think you're behind. You're not. Whenever you arrive is right on time. You know, if you didn't get the internet in 1995 and you got it in 1999, you were still right on time. And look where we are now. Conversely, though, I'll tell you, in the next 3 to 5 years, by the way, if somebody came into your office right now and said, I'm sorry, I can't interact with you, we don't use the internet, you'd be like, whoa, time warp. I don't know what to tell you. Or if they said, I'm sorry, I can't go to that event because I only ride horses across the country, I don't fly or drive a car, you would think that to be a little weird. Same thing here. So it is bigger than the internet. Start to learn it as fast as you can and just practice and get good at it. Use it around the house, use it with different things. Use it to create plans and schedules and ideas and creative thinking. I will tell you this though, because even the pastor at our church says this all the time. He suggests you don't lean on it from a faith perspective or start turning it into a godlike creature. This is a big warning he sends out all the time, not mine, but his. He's seen a lot of people do that, where they'll say things like that woman said to me, act like you're God and tell me what to do. He's like, don't do that. God will tell you what to do. You don't need the technology to tell you what to do. So just have boundaries, that's all. So drawings are different. ChatGPT will draw some things very poorly. Midjourney's pretty good at it. Depends on what you're drawing. So if you're trying to draw sketches and things like that, they're all a little different. Gemini is actually better at that than most of them. It's a Google product. It's pretty good at drawings and sketches and things like that, depending on what you're trying to do. The hard part is none of them are very good at taking an image and then drawing it or trying to do stuff like that. It's just a very complicated problem, so they don't solve that very well. But those are the ones I would use. Generally, I try not to use a lot of them because they're just kind of bad. They're not really good at that yet. Some models are better. Midjourney is really good at imagery and sketching. And then napkin.ai, like I said, that one's very good if you wanted to draw like a Venn diagrams and come up with diagrams and charts and cool graphics like that. I don't normally talk about that a lot, but yeah, we always say please and thank you for two reasons. One, they actually respond better. They respond way better. And two, if they do go sentient someday, I don't want them to kill me first. That's the second reason. But first reason is, actually the models are programmed that way. They respond to politeness. You say thank you, you say please. That's just software. It's just the algorithm. So don't think it's like a person, but they kind of designed it that way, and they're all sort of designed that way to be very responsive if you're kind, which does feel weird, I admit, but it is effective. A lot of those influencers are telling you how easy it is. They're making it look easy. There's a lot more complexity to video creation than you think. So anybody who's saying, oh, I just put in a prompt and look what it did, they're professionals. They're really good at that. And so there is even Sora, which is an OpenAI product. Flux is another one. They're pretty good, but they require you to really play with them and practice to get them to be great. You also have to pay to get them to be longer than, let's say, 5 seconds. And the prompting has to be really good. Like, we tested a lot of those, and one of the funny thing was, if we said, this is the subtle difference. If we said, make sure the person has feet when they're running, because it was making models of people running with no feet, because you assume how dumb would it be to not know people have feet. So then what it would do is, it would put feet, but they would be weirdly shaped. So then we'd have to say, we'd just keep practicing until we got to the place where we said, okay, look, it's a whole person. They have a head all the way to their feet, 2 hands. Everything is physically working properly. They're running towards the beach. They're doing this. We had to be really clear with that prompt, or it would just miss parts. So some of it is just like art. It's a lot of practice. It's a lot of just trying and experimenting. Flux is really good. It's harder to use. Sora is okay. It's inside AI or OpenAI. Pretty decent, but again, you've got to really practice the prompting. That's probably the best part. None of them are super intuitive. By the way, none of the AI is very intuitive, if I'm being honest. You've got to learn it. You've got to really learn how to use it.